Deal management is an area we've been thinking about a lot at HubSpot for the last year or two. We made a lot of strides, and I think you're going to see that just accelerate in 2023. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, wait, what if I want to do it per pipeline? Or wait, what if I want to have requirements for associations appear when I move it? Or wait, what if chances are the team is thinking about these things and I don't know exactly when they will be out or what they will look like or what order they'll come in, but watch this space.
Welcome to RevOps Champions, a podcast designed for revenue professionals looking to advance sales and marketing initiatives through the role of RevOps within their organizations. In each episode, we feature leaders who are leveraging technology to drive operational efficiency, revenue, and improve the customer experience. Listen in and learn how to become a better RevOps leader within your own organization. Let's get started.
So, things every HubSpot admin needs to know. So, just by quick way of introduction, I'm Kyle Jepson. I figure if you don't know what I look like, you will by the end of this presentation. So here's a picture of the rest of my family. This is actually quite out of date. These kids are quite a bit older than this, but we've never got a cuter picture, so I stick with this one. I'm an inbound sales professor at HubSpot Academy. I'm the author of 6 HubSpot Academy certifications, but if you know me from anywhere, it's probably from my daily LinkedIn videos where I share HubSpot updates, and that will very much color the way this presentation goes. I'm the married father of 3, and I'm the bishop of a Latter-day Saint congregation here in Boston, but I am also a founder and leader of the HubSpot Admins Hug. It's pretty unusual for a HubSpot employee to be a hug leader. I believe I am the only one, but I really, those of you who are here a little bit early heard me talking, I really believe that those of you who function as admins, whether it's your full-time job or a thing that was dropped in your lap more or less accidentally, I really believe HubSpot should be investing in you. And so I'm dedicating a lot of time to investing in you. Just a little bit of self-promotion. I know it's a little unorthodox to come to one hug and promote another, but if you aren't already involved in my hug, I definitely recommend checking it out. I've been doing more than one event a week since Inbound ended. I'm done with events for the year, but starting in January, I've got a bunch coming up. And I definitely recommend checking it out. And if there are any you missed that you're interested in, all of these have recordings. You know, if you want to know a lot about, data sets or governance or any of these, you can just click into them and the recording is on that page. Another thing I have been working on is a boot camp. So this is a free 6-week training course for admins. We're calling it intermediate level. If you look at this page, you'll see there are some prerequisites. We don't want to pause and have to explain to someone that in HubSpot, an opportunity is called a deal. We want to, if you understand the basics of HubSpot, if you have a few Academy certifications, and if you're looking to take your admin skills to the next level, this is going to be great. It's going to start near the end of January. It's going to be 6 weeks, once a week, get together for an hour, get some instruction, then go take a workbook and go do some real work and up level. So that is starting next month, but applications are now open. So check it out, see if you think it'll be relevant to you, and apply if you think it is. I've sort of already addressed this. I have given up this presentation a lot. It's not because I'm lazy, and it's not to make things easier for me. I really am just trying to keep you all up to date. So in my inbound presentation, I had a section where I talked about deal management. And I talked about playbooks and required properties for deal stages. I talked about deal stage probability and how to figure that out. Talked about forecasting, talked about products and quotes. This was just in September. This is just a few months ago. And everything is different now. Everything is different just in this one section. Playbooks. You can now recommend playbooks based on different deal stages and ticket stages and properties and things. You can now update objects across properties across different objects. You now have a drag and drop editor, which makes things a lot easier. Required properties are now in Starter. When I spoke at Inbound, they were a pro feature. They're now in the Builder. So when you create a new deal, these required properties are enforced. And required associations just became a thing this week. I had to update this slide to add that. Deal stage probability hasn't changed, but we now have the ability to lock access to deals based on the stage they're in. We now have the ability to do some things with preferred currencies on the deal board, the way that's displayed. Forecasting hasn't gotten a serious update, but it's been upended by inline editing. And actually, as I say that, I realize forecasting has got a serious update. It now will observe your fiscal year. So if you set up a fiscal year in your settings, your forecast can now be by fiscal quarters and fiscal years. That was not possible before a week ago. So even this deck that I updated for this presentation is already out of date. And then products and quotes now have fractional quantities that came out in May, but fractional prices too. That just came out in September. So you can add more decimal points if you need to. So in some ways, it's kind of a lost cause for me to just have a canonical list of features that every HubSpot admin needs to know. And so what I'm really doing with this presentation is trying to help you understand that in reality, there's only one thing every HubSpot admin needs to know, and that's that HubSpot gets a little bit better every single day. And my personal mission is to help you keep up with that. It's to cut through the noise of all the little updates and highlight the ones that are really going to make your life as an admin better. And so today, instead of trying to give you any sort of baseline foundation, give you a tour of HubSpot and highlight the things you ought to know, I just want to call out some of my favorite updates of 2022. Some of these are big enough, like the first one here, custom lifecycle stages. I hope you all know that's a thing. Some of these are maybe a little more obscure. I don't know. I'm always surprised what bits of information do and don't reach different HubSpot users. It's definitely an area of growth for HubSpot as a company in 2023. So these are the things I'm going to demo for you today. Let's demo some really cool updates from 2022. Custom lifecycle stages. I put this one at the top of the list, not just because it's so fundamental and such a game changer for so many users, but because when I started at HubSpot in 2015, I was a support rep for the CRM. The CRM was brand new. It had just launched at Inbound the year before. And one of the most common questions we got from people who were checking out this new CRM HubSpot had just come out with was, how do I customize the lifecycle stages? And we said, you can't. It's impossible. And kind of our official answer was, these defaults are great. They're incontrovertible. They work for every business. But secretly in the background, we were also saying, it's the backbone of the way our system is architected. It's impossible for us to change this. It touches too many things. But 100 HubSpot teams, literally, worked for more than 3 years. And now it is possible to update your lifecycle stages. So let me just show you this. If we go to settings here, and if we expand objects and go to contacts, there is now a lifecycle stages tab. And of course, the thing everybody's talking about, perhaps the most exciting thing, is you can edit your lifecycle stages, right? You can edit and delete these. You can add stages. You can rearrange them, change the order, whatever you want to do. And that is great, right? You can rename them. You can add. I've been hearing a lot about sales accepted leads. That seems to be a thing a lot of companies use. You can now add that now. Or if you want to remove one of these and replace it with sales accepted lead, you can do that. I've also heard a lot of companies using former customer, right? So like you have a customer who stops being your customer, you can have a lifecycle stage to identify that so that they are separated from your customer base, right? And maybe you get rid of maybe you get rid of evangelist. If you're not using these, you can cut down on some of the clutter and just have the stages you need. So this is awesome. This is a really big deal. It was a lot of work, and I think a lot of people are getting a lot of value out of it. I think it's no less cool that we have this area up here where you can decide what lifecycle stage contacts and companies will be when they're created, what lifecycle stage they'll move to when a deal is created, right? When a deal is won. It's sort of, HubSpot has had some of these settings for a while where when a deal is created, you can choose whether or not the associated contact automatically becomes an opportunity, for example. But now, if you're changing these around, if you're rearranging them, if you're renaming them, if you're adding new stages, you can control how that happens. And that's really cool. And actually in individual forms, there's a setting where you can say, for this one specific form, if someone submits it, set their lifecycle stage to a particular thing. So you're just getting a lot more control over how your contacts move through these stages. So you can really represent that customer journey and your business process. So that is custom lifecycle stages. Let me move on to inline editing on index pages. This one is my favorite, you guys. I don't know why. This just does it for me. I just get so giddy every time I demo this because it seems like such a simple thing, but it was really not. So here we're looking at some contacts, right? They're listed. We have these columns showing different properties. And now you can just click in and you can edit these things, right? On the fly. If you're updating a whole bunch of properties at the same time, this is just so flexible and so nice, right? And if you're like me and you're putting garbage in here, right? Oh, I didn't know I was really editing it. We have a cancel button, right? None of this is saved until you hit save. You can see how many changes you've made. And if you need to roll it back, right? I think the way this was developed and designed is just so smart. If you have a list of contacts and you need to just fill in a bunch of information really quickly, this is going to save you so much time compared to the old way of opening up the record or even just the preview sidebar and editing stuff. Oh, it was such a drag to wait for this to load. And then if the property you needed wasn't listed here, you were sort of out of luck. This is just so much better. And it's subtle. So I feel like if you weren't told, like Trigby, who I really admire as a HubSpot user, just discovered this yesterday, right? And it came out just shortly after inbound. So I'll use this one, love it. Tell all your friends about it. I wish everyone knew it was there. I think we've all gotten so accustomed to that. Yeah, this looks kind of like a spreadsheet, but you can't edit it like one, that we don't even try, right? We don't even notice. And, some of these, right, like these are default properties that you cannot edit. And so this is how it always used to behave, right? But for properties that aren't automatically populated by HubSpot, you can just click in and edit them. And I think that is lovely. So that's inline editing on index pages. That's not just for contacts. It works on your custom objects. It works on companies. It works on the list view of deals and tickets. It works everywhere. And I just think it's such a huge quality of life improvement.
The chat also finds this very exciting. So
I'm so glad. It's my favorite. I'm glad you all love it. It seems like such a little thing. I've got to tell you, so there's an internal meeting here at HubSpot called CRM Show and Tell. The team that works on core CRM features a couple times a month, I think it's every other week or something, they get together for an hour and they just demo things they're working on, usually in very early forms. Like I've seen a lot of QA and like broken code and Figma mockups and things. But like the guy who demoed this, he just put on the agenda surprise demo. And none of us knew what it was going to be. And he demoed this and like, we all just lost our minds. People started shouting, people started crying. Like it was such a powerful thing to see in action. It was the thing we all wanted, but didn't really know we wanted. So let's move on to Journey Analytics. This one, I believe this is a Marketing Hub enterprise feature. This is a wild new world of reporting. So if you create a new report and you have the appropriate subscription, you'll see customer journey reports as an option here. And now, do we want a demo? Oh, no, I'll demo it. That's fine. Tempted me for a minute. So what you can do here is you can drag touch points into here, right? So I don't have a lot of data in my portal. I don't know what will be interesting. But let's say, if someone is a lead and then they submit a form and then they, clicked a link in an email. How about visited a web page? You can just add things here and you can run the report and this will take a few seconds. And the thing that's really cool here is you see sort of like you're probably accustomed to seeing in a funnel report, how many people, of course, I'm sorry. I wish my portal had better data in it. We'll try that. You can see the drop off from one thing to another, but you can also make some of these optional so that, come on, I should practice this beforehand. Let's get rid of some of these. What if we just do our lifecycle stages here and see what happens? So what you can do, it's called a Sankey chart, and it'll show you this many people did step number 1, this many people did step number 2, this many people did step number 3. We're not going to get a pretty demo of this. I apologize. Let's just see what the try demo button does. But you can make steps optional. So here's what it's supposed to look like. This is lovely. Thank you, product team, for building me this little demo. You can see the drop off from one point to the next, right? And if you make steps optional, what you'll see is little journeys coming off, and like this person skipped all these steps and went straight to there. And so you can start to understand that people don't necessarily follow your process linearly. Many will, but many might take a different path. And you can start building your content funnel or your sales experience to match the journeys people are taking organically and support them in that to help them get where they're going. I think this is such a beautiful visualization, and the ability to make different steps optional is really like, you can see this person, this group went straight, they skipped this step, right? And went straight that way. This really opens up a lot of insights that weren't possible before. I also love that you can see total conversion and average time to conversion, right? How long does it take people to go through this process? How many people are in each step? What is the conversion rate? There's just it's a very data-rich chart here that is showing you things that previously there was no good way of seeing in HubSpot. So this is a new thing. We made a big deal of this one at Inbound, I think, but I think it is a big deal, and it's pretty cool that you can see this data inside of HubSpot. Custom objects have come a long way in 2022. This is pretty wild. So custom objects first launched in 2020. I was on that project from the beginning, and there were so many conversations internally about how do we give people the ability to create custom objects without opening a way for them to destroy the beauty and simplicity of HubSpot, right? And we were really nervous about this. And so that's part of the reason for a long time, custom objects were API only. You could only create them through API calls. We figured if we put enough friction there, if we made it kind of hard to adopt, people would only go through the effort if they were really confident they needed a custom object. But what we've discovered in the last couple of years is HubSpot users are smart. You all are great. None of you are really on a path of destruction and sorrow. You're all using HubSpot to help your business grow. And sometimes you need custom objects to do that. And it's really frustrating when we make that such a tough experience to put this arbitrary hurdle of an API call when everything else in HubSpot is so easy. And so we have made it easy in HubSpot to create and edit and delete custom objects. So if you go to your custom object settings, and this just left beta a few days ago, I think. So this used to be a beta you had to opt yourself into. Now, if you have any enterprise version of HubSpot, you will just see this. You come to your custom object settings. There's this ability to create a custom object, and you give it a name. So how about, I don't know, I've probably already done shipments, huh? I have. So actually, a fun bit of HubSpot history. The very first customer we ever gave the ability to create custom objects was this company that made these enormous, like $500,000 drones for surveying companies. And so drones was the first custom object ever created in HubSpot. And so you give it a singular name for the parts of the product where it appears in the singular, and you give it a plural name for parts of the object where it appears plurally, because we don't want to just assume putting an S on the end will do it, because if you're tracking sheep or if you're tracking churches or something, like, it's not always that easy. The primary display property, if you imagine like a contact record, and real big in the top left corner, you see the contact's name. Or on a company record, real big in the top left corner, you see the company name. That's the primary display property. And when you're, if you're on a contact record and you look at the associated company, that primary display property is right there at the top. It's the link you click to go to the record. So maybe the drone primary display property is its like serial number, right? That's totally plausible. So you select that. And then secondary display property on those integration cards is just the one that appears under it, right? So like maybe this is, I'm out of ideas, honestly. So we'll give it that name. And then we create it. And now, if I just wait a couple seconds, I now have a drone custom object. And I need to pull it down from the list here, but like here it is. We could go to its index page. It would just be there and that would be fine. So that's great. That was like the first thing we introduced. More recently, we've given you this little actions button, right? So like if we want to edit this custom object, we can edit it. Maybe we want to change the name. Or if it's just garbage that I created for a demo like this, we can just delete it. And then the newest thing is see where it's used. And that's not interesting here because I just created it. It's not used anywhere. But you could see like if there were workflows or lists or any of these things using this object. And actually, if you go to delete it, it will check first and it'll tell you like, oh, this is used in places. You can't just go deleting it. But just like this, as easy as it was to create, it's now gone. And I think probably about 1 million different custom objects called test 1 and test 2 were probably deleted as soon as we introduced this functionality. So now creating custom objects is about as easy as creating custom properties has always been, right? And that's a huge step forward for anyone who needs a custom object. It's now just so easy. And if you create it and it turns out you create it wrong, or you decide you actually don't need it, it's pretty easy to undo that too. So I think this is huge. The other thing we developed in tandem with this that was kind of lumped together in the same beta is the ability to visualize how your objects are connected together. And if you've been in the beta, you're probably accustomed to that being here in settings somewhere. We've decided that's really more like a report. So to find it now, if you've been looking for it and thought we got rid of it and have been worried about it, if you go to reports under data management, you can see data model right here. And when you come here, you'll see your data model laid out. If there are just certain objects you want to look at, you can turn these on and off, right? But what you're seeing here are the objects you have, both the standard ones that come with HubSpot, like contacts and companies and things, and also your custom objects like pets and shipments. And when you hover over them, it tells you contacts are associated to companies, deals, pets, tickets, trucks, and vehicles, right? I've associated contacts with lots of things. You can see examples here of properties and such. And something we just added very recently, very subtle change that is hopefully helpful, is if you click on it, it will highlight the associations. So because we arrange these in a grid, which is maybe something we'll be rethinking in the future, we're not sure. Sometimes, like, it's hard to tell. Contacts is connected to vehicles. Vehicles and pets are not connected, but it kind of looks like it because this line from contacts to vehicles goes under pets. But this makes it clear, like, contacts are connected. And if we click on pets, this makes it clear, vehicles are actually not connected to pets, right? Vehicles are connected to contacts, right? So now this is much more interactive and it's much clearer how your data is actually structured. And so if you're thinking, where do I want this custom object to go? You can come look at this. You can play around and figure out where it'll fit in. And then when you go create that custom object, you can add associations and association labels as needed to get it fully plugged in to your wider data model. So that is a huge improvement. This opens up custom objects to so many customers who previously, even if they really needed them, just the thought of figuring out how to run an API call or finding someone who could run it for you was a huge barrier to entry. We have now removed that so that you can have custom objects if you need them. Now let's talk about data quality. Data quality, a few different things have happened here. These features all live in Operations Hub. The first thing I want to show you is also under this data management, there is this data quality command center is what we've been calling it, where you can get a view of things, the health of your HubSpot portal in ways you have not been able to before. So there's properties, there's records, and down here, there's data sync. If you're using data sync, that two-way real-time integration between HubSpot and certain other apps, you'll see some data here. But this is just so cool. Look at properties here for a minute. What we're seeing is how many have no data, how many are unused, and how many our system is identifying as potential duplicates. So the difference between no data and unused is no data means there is a property that it doesn't have a value on it anywhere, right? So if you created a custom contact property and across all your contact records, none of them have a value in there, it's going to show up in this no data section. Unused means that regardless of whether there's data in there or not, the property isn't used by any other HubSpot tools. It's not in any lists. It's not in any workflows. It's not in any of the many places you can use properties. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it should be removed, right? The example I like to use is the phone number property. Maybe that's not used in any of your workflows or lists or anything else, but maybe your sales reps are using that every single day to call people, right? So unused doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be removed, but it's just worth being mindful of if data is being stored in a property that's not being accessed by any parts of the HubSpot system, it's a fair question of whether it's being used at all. It may be by your humans, but it's just a thing to be mindful of. And then duplicates, HubSpot is just looking and trying to see duplicates. To take this a level deeper, if we go to view all property insights here, when we click into the property insights page on data quality command center, we get this deeper level of detail. So here is a list of all my properties. And we can filter these, right? So if we want to see the ones that have no data in them, we can see, here are the ones. And if they have no data and they're unused, that's a good candidate for removing, right? So this is just a great way to clean up. And if you look at the duplicates, look at this. HubSpot nailed me, right? I have employees and industry, and then I have industry custom and number of employees, right? Almost certainly these are duplicates. So this is a great area for me to clean up. The other thing that's super cool, if we get rid of this filter, is if we just choose one of these and click on it here, we get brought to this page where let's look at this year and we'll look at, how about weekly? So here you can see the history of this property when values were put into it, right? And when we first rolled this out internally just for ourselves here at HubSpot, because HubSpot uses HubSpot as its CRM, our operations team did this for some property and found some spike 6 or 9 months in the past and discovered that an integration had gone on the fritz and filled in a property with a bunch of bad data. And they were able to dig into exactly when that happened and revert it because of this history here of this property that tells you, where the sources are coming. Like this one was updated by a HubSpot API endpoint, something very big, happened in October. And so this is, if you are in an operations role and you're trying to dig into the details of where your data is coming from and how healthy it is, this is a lens that you've never had before that now you can just click into pretty easily and look for warning signs. So that is this data quality command center. The one thing I really love about this, one thing that I think is really great is, like I said, this is part of Operations Hub. Historically, for the couple of years as it existed, Operations Hub has very much been a sort of add-ons, right? You get a few new flow actions and you get a few new integration features. But if you buy Operations Hub, there was never a place you could go and do Operations Hub. And now Operations Hub has real estate inside the app. This is it. And I think it's pretty cool. The other thing I want to mention about data quality is related. So here on the records, Operations Hub is identifying some records that it thinks has some formatting issues and some that might be duplicates. So the deduplication tool has been around for a long time. It got a little update this year in that you can now deduplicate in bulk, which is huge. But it just kind of runs in the background and looks for contacts and company records that that might be duplicates. Formatting issues is a new thing we introduced this year. And if we go view this, look like John typo here. You can see I did crazy things with the capitalization. It discovered, yeah, this is probably how you want it, right? And you can accept or reject this. But the thing that's really cool, similarly, under email address is likely temporary or invalid. Yep, you got me. You got me. These are burner email addresses that I use just because I needed to create some dummy contacts a long time ago. So the thing that's really cool in Operations Hub Professional and above is you can create automation for this stuff, right? So if you just want all of your records all the time to have first name and last name capitalized, you can do that. If you just always want to remove weird punctuation and things from your email and name records, you can just turn these automations on here, save them, and then these will get updated automatically. And what's incredibly powerful about that is if you think of like data sync, right? If you sync up with Square or Microsoft Dynamics or one of these data sync powered integrations, you'll get all this data coming in from your other systems, but then they'll go through this automation, right? So if the data in your external system is bad, if the capitalization is gross, or if there are a lot of bad emails in there or something, this will clean it up, and then it'll sync back into that external system. So not only are you getting clean data inside of HubSpot, but that clean data is now flowing throughout the rest of your tech stack. So HubSpot not only becomes a hub of your data, but it cleans it as it passes through. And so that just kind of up levels all your systems, not just HubSpot, which I think is fantastic. So that's my bit about data quality. Delay workflows until a date. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. We had a quick question on what the CRM develop tab is that you have.
Yes. So I will tell you very transparently, I'm not smart enough to explain this to you, but I'll show it to you. So if there are CRM developer types in your life and they want to create, custom cards to go in that right-hand sidebar of a record, or create some things to go in the new, you can now on records in the middle pane, you can have multiple tabs up top. So the default is still to see the timeline that's always been there. But you can have other tabs you click into, and those can display HubSpot information or external information or whatever you want. You build all that as a developer doing the magical things developers do that I am in no way qualified to do. And so if there's a developer in your life, this is a beta you can opt into, and this button appears here. And this is just kind of all the tools they need to do it, right? If they want to install the HubSpot stuff so they can develop this stuff just locally on their laptop and run it locally on their laptop before deploying it, this is all the steps to do that. Over here, you can create projects and private apps. If you want to design a card, right, here's a way to do it. You can drop things in here and I want my card to look like this, right? And then here's your code right there. And you can copy this and run with it. Lots of really great tools for people who know things about development. This has been here for a couple months. I've gotten a couple requests to make a LinkedIn video about this. I keep coming in here and clicking around and then chickening out because I just so far out of my depth.
It's very cool though. Thank you for addressing that.
Yeah. I'm happy to click that button for you. I'm happy to tell you what I know. In this case, I don't know a whole lot, but I have some general sense of who this is for, and that person is not me. But if it's you, it's definitely worth finding this beta, opting into it, exploring with it, or telling the developer in your life about it, because my understanding is that this makes the developer's life a lot easier. I don't know what the old developer world was like, but it was not this consolidated. So anyway, that's the CRM development tab. That's another new thing in 2022. It's a very big deal. Maybe someday I'll be smart enough to demo it better than this, but I hope that gives you a taste. Let me tell you about delay until a date in workflows. So this one I'm super excited about because there have been a lot of great updates to workflows in the last couple of years, but they've kind of all gone into Operations Hub, which is great for anyone who's using Operations Hub. But if you're not using Operations Hub, you kind of get this feeling of being left out. But this one is just, it's not an Operations Hub. If you have workflows, you have the ability to delay until a date. And so if I create a new workflow, we'll just create a contact-based workflow here. We could have people enrolled, right? Like, let's say we want to do a form submission for some sort of, do I have like a registration? Right. So someone registers for an event like this hug, for example, right? We can have them, they fill out the registration form. Now we can delay until a date. That's this button right here. And let's say, we know that the event date is today, or maybe this is next quarter's hug, right? It's on Valentine's Day at, I don't know, whatever, you probably not 2 a.m. here. How about 3 p.m, right? You can delay until this time. And now, like, if you want to send a reminder email or something like that, you can just do that. And that is super cool. And you don't have to hard code the date, right? If there's a contact date property, right? If this is stored somewhere. If they registered for an event at a particular time and you're storing that on a property, you can just delay until, the date that they're taking your test or whatever. However you want to do this, you can delay until a specific date and it will work, which is awesome. All by itself, that is huge. That makes things so much easier for people who run events and other things. But honestly, my favorite part about it is this little checkbox. Pro tip, if a contact reaches this delay after the date, you can add a branch to send this contact to a different set of actions. So think about this, right? If someone fills out this form after the event is already over, the form is still live somewhere, they clicked an old link in an old email, however they got there, you can just check this box and hit save. And what it's going to do is great for those who came beforehand and they were on time, right? And we're going to send them like a reminder email with a link to log in, whatever it is, to help them remember that they registered for this thing. We could, delay until dates. There's something that's really cool about this one is with a contact date property, you can do like on the date or a few days before the date or after the date, whatever you want to do, right? Like, so your reminder email goes out maybe 3 days before and then 1 day before. Your follow-up emails goes like a day or two after. Super cool. But for that person who filled out the registration form after this event is already over, we will just send a different set of emails, right? Like, oh, sorry, this event has already ended. Thank you for registering. Here is a link to the resources page where you can catch the recording. And by the way, we have this other event coming up in a few months. How about you register for that one? Whatever it is you want to do. I just feel like that is so easy and a thing I absolutely would not have thought of. And I really appreciate that the team that developed this just put that checkbox here and automatically this values equals branch is added for you. I think that is so delightful and so HubSpotty, and it just makes me really happy. And again, this is not Operations Hub. This is just in workflows. If you have access to workflows, you can do these delay until date actions. And I think it just opens up so many possibilities. And I'm really excited for all of you to try it out.
Hey, Kyle.
Yeah.
Another question. Michael asks, what is the best way to follow updates on the CMS part of HubSpot?
Yes.
The long sigh.
Yeah. So honestly, in general, I think the best advice I can give you is here inside your portal. If you just click on the part where you see your account name and your face, there is this product updates area. And so my understanding is this list is filtered. So you will only see the updates that are relevant to your subscription, which some people like and some people really don't like, but that's the reality of it. So if you have CMS Hub and you come in here, you can filter this just to see updates to website stuff, right? And here, like, oh yeah, we, HubDB rows and HubSpot video and self-hosted web fonts. You can see the updates here. This is the last 30 days. You can look longer than that. This is probably your best source of information. It is not totally exhaustive. And again, it's filtered to just your subscription. So if you don't have CMS Hub and you're waiting until it gets some core feature, watching here, you'll never see that feature because it only shows you things that are relevant to the subscription you have. But this is still a valuable page to be aware of. And it's also where you access betas. The betas page, for whatever reason, is not filterable. So if you're using CMS Hub and you want to know about betas for CMS Hub, you'll just kind of have to scroll through and look for them because they do come up occasionally. Preview HubDB rows as dynamic pages, right? But this is the best thing HubSpot has right now. It's kind of the only thing HubSpot has right now.
Okay.
But we're hoping to have more in the future.
So that's interesting. In fact, what I was looking for is I do like all the reviews that you are doing on the platform itself. I wanted to know if there is a clone of you that is specialized in the CMS. What you're providing is awesome. So
yeah, and honestly, like, I love that feedback. I might just clip that out of this recording when I get it because I have weak spots, right? Like I introduced myself. I'm the inbound sales professor. My specialty is Sales Hub. I understand Marketing Hub pretty well. Operations Hub I know pretty good. CMS is kind of a weak spot for me, right? And I would love to I have a fellow professor, Rachel Sheldon, who is just brilliant at CMS stuff, but she's not doing what I'm doing on LinkedIn. But I will use this to entice her to hopefully do that because I think we do need more in-depth stuff like what I'm doing. And it's just like I'm woefully unqualified to do the CRM development stuff, right? That someone else has to do that job. I'm hoping to convince others to join me in 2023. So that's very useful feedback. Cool. Thanks. So anyway, delay until workflow date. I guess I finished my train of thought. That's why I lost it. Let's talk about required properties and associations in the deal builder, because this kind of changes everything for a lot of people. So when let's see, when you look at a deal, for a long time, we have had this ability where, let's see, is this a good example? Yes. You can have required properties tied to a deal stage. So what I was doing is I'm trying to drag this deal from appointment scheduled to demo completed. But in order to do that, I have some required properties I have to fill in. This one is required, right? What date did this demo happen? And this one is required. What top initiatives did I learn about from them? And then this one, it doesn't have the asterisk, so it's not required. I can save this deal without updating that. But if I was smart and scheduled a second meeting, I can put that in here, and then I can move it to that. But if I leave one of these required properties blank, I can't save it. And if I tried to just X out, it doesn't come through. This has existed for a long time. But there's been this gaping loophole in that if I create a deal and just drop it straight into the demo completed stage, then I can get around those requirements, but no more. Look, here is my form for creating deals. If I drop this into demo completed, look, date of demo, date of second meeting, top initiatives, they now get added to this creator form. So this is now dynamic. Huge. That was our first step in this direction. Everybody celebrated. Everybody pulled out the champagne. It was lovely. But we've gone even farther now. So if we edit this form, we can require associations, right? So like my shipments custom object, maybe I want that to appear here at creation, right? But what's bigger is maybe I want contacts and companies required, right? Maybe I never want anyone to save a deal without associating it to a contact and company. And maybe shipments, right? We want to have it displayed in case there's information to add there, but maybe at creation, they won't be ready. So we won't make that required, right? So in the same way, I cannot move a deal or create a deal unless I have the required fields put in. Now you can enforce that same thing with associations. And this is huge. This is an enormous step forward. We've never had requirements like this with associations before, and it works. So this is deal management is an area we've been thinking about a lot at HubSpot for the last year or two. We've made a lot of strides, and I think you're going to see that just accelerate in 2023. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, wait, what if I want to do it per pipeline? Or wait, what if I want to have requirements for associations appear when I move it? Or wait, what if chances are the team is thinking about these things and I don't know exactly when they will be out or what they will look like or what order they'll come in. But watch this space. You're going to see a lot of evolution in 2023 in the way deals work and are managed, in the way salespeople work inside of HubSpot, and it's just going to get better and better. So that is required properties and associations in Deal Builder. We are coming up on time here. The WhatsApp integration, unfortunately, I cannot really demo for you because I don't have a WhatsApp business account, but it is amazing. So I just want to show you real quick. If we go to our, we're in our settings. Great. And if we go to the inbox, I believe you can add channels, right? So if you connect a channel to your inbox, WhatsApp is here and you can connect WhatsApp to it. And if you're like me and you don't have a WhatsApp business account, you can actually in this flow sign up for one. I'm not going to do that because I don't really need a WhatsApp business account, but we just try to make it as easy as possible for you to get WhatsApp business account connected to HubSpot. And once you've done that, inside the conversations inbox, you can now respond to WhatsApp messages. So if you have a WhatsApp phone number and people are sending messages to it, it will just show up here in exactly the same way as your live chats and your emails. And it's one more channel you can respond to people with, and you can change from one channel to the next. And what's really delightful is if people are using WhatsApp messages, like if they send you an audio message, right? They're sitting on the beach and they don't want to get their phone sandy by typing a message. So they just hit the little microphone icon and say, hey, whatever company, I could really use some help right now. And they send that message. That will appear right here, and it'll look just like this, except there will be a play button and you can listen to the audio message and respond to it. It's just so cool. Also, WhatsApp for Business has templated messages. And so if you create templates in your WhatsApp account, those are pulled into HubSpot and you can just send them here, reply to people, automatically send them to, it's going to open up so much. I feel like this is probably a bigger deal outside of the US. Seems like outside of the US, they're way into WhatsApp in a way that the states have not quite caught up with. But if you're using WhatsApp in your business, or if you think your target market might be interested in using WhatsApp, it's now just such a smooth and fully integrated experience. I'd highly recommend checking it out.
Kyle,
Thanks.
while we're waiting on questions to come in, do you want to talk a little bit more about your boot camp?
Sure. So the boot camp, we're very excited about. Boot camps are a direction HubSpot Academy has. We sort of pioneered this year. We've done some sales ones. Actually, Trygve is or was here. He runs our pipeline generation bootcamp. Dan Tyre, a longtime HubSpotter, one of our first sales reps here, is running the bootcamps initiative at HubSpot Academy. And so I reached out to him post inbound. I was like, there's a big appetite for admin training. Could we do an admin bootcamp? And he said, if you can figure out what it should cover, sure, let's do it. And so I did some brainstorming, kind of put some things together, and I will not be delivering that content. I'm helping to develop it, but your teachers will be George B. Thomas, if any of you know him. He's a longtime HubSpot fan, a big player in the ecosystem, and then Stepan, who is a really active HubSpot admin I've just come to know in the past couple months. I'm really excited for those two to be working together. And then Debbie Akinton, who is very active in HubSpot events, will be sort of a teacher assistant there. So those three together will be delivering the trainings, and they will be once a week, like I said, and for an hour. And we'll do some breakout session work. We'll do a lot of training, and then we will send you off for a week. And during that week, kind of two different things will happen. One is there's a workbook where you can be analyzing your own data in your HubSpot account and making sure it works. But the second is we're going to give you access to a sandbox. So if we're talking about importing or something, it would be awful. It would be counterproductive for us to say, go into your real HubSpot account and import a bunch of dummy data we provide you, right? Like, we would never ask you to do that, but we can give you a little sandbox environment where you can go in, you can import that data, you can play around with it. You can test the kind of the limitations of HubSpot, and if you break stuff, it doesn't matter because it's just a sandbox and your real live account will be okay. And then you can come back the next week and debrief on what happened. What did you learn? Where did you run into trouble? What are the next steps? How do we take you to the next level? And then you get another hour of training and off you go again. We'll do that for 6 weeks. The first one starts late January. I forget, the 20-something of January, but we're going to limit it to 50 people. I assume it's going to fill up pretty quick. We just launched it yesterday, but I think a lot of people will be interested. And we'll do another one probably in March if the demand is good. So by all means, go register. I cannot guarantee you a spot this time around, but the more people who register, the more interest that is apparent, the more HubSpot will invest in making this happen on a more regular basis throughout 2023. So I would love for all of you to get there.
Kyle, we are so grateful for your time and your expertise. We covered a lot today. It's just insane how fast HubSpot changes. For those of you that are wondering, how do I get this expertise in my business? There's 3 ways that you can go about doing that. You can try and hire somebody that's already got the expertise. That's a little bit hard right now. You can train somebody in-house by attending the boot camps and all of the certifications, joining Kyle's Hug. But you can also, there are lots of partners out there like Dynamico who are happy to provide assistance either alongside your own HubSpot admin or coming in as an admin itself. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to Kyle. You can reach out to Emily. Emily, will you drop your contact info in real quick for me? And any of us would be happy to assist you. This is our last hug for the year. Obviously, our next one will be in Q1, and in January, we'll be reaching out to everyone with our topic. If you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate to put that in our LinkedIn group. If you're not a part of that, you can search for Twin Cities HubSpot user group on LinkedIn and join that group. We're doing our best to reactivate that. So thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate all the insights this morning, and happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you guys next year.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for checking out this episode of RevOps Champions. This show is powered by Dynamico, a HubSpot consulting firm, helping businesses level up the technology systems that power their ability to scale. If you enjoyed what you learned in this episode, make sure to follow RevOps Champions wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or visit RevOpsChampions.com to get immediate access to all of the latest episodes.